The headache was the first thing Ethan Caldwell noticed, a dull rhythmic thumping behind his eyes that synchronized perfectly with the blinding sunlight slicing through the floor-to-ceiling windows of his penthouse. He groaned, rolling over, his hands searching instinctively for the alarm clock he usually slapped at 5 a.m. Instead, his hand brushed against something warm, something soft. Ethan froze. He opened one eye, fighting the glare. Lying next to him, her dark hair fanned out across his charcoal pillowcase, was Lily Chin. Ethan's breath hitched in his throat. Lily, his executive assistant. The woman who managed his schedule, filtered his calls, and knew the passcode to his life. She was curled up, breathing softly, wearing. Ethan lifted the duvet gingerly, his oversized white dress shirt. Panic, cold and sharp, pierced through his hangover. He looked down at himself. He was still in his dress trousers from the night before, though they were wrinkled beyond recognition. His undershirt was twisted. What happened? He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to summon a memory, a flash, anything. The last thing he remembered was the applause. The bright lights of the crystal chandeliers at the Grand Meridian Hotel. The company gala. The celebration of the acquisition of Horizon Tech. He remembered the champagne flute in his hand, the endless line of investors shaking his hand, and Derek Vance, smirking at him from the bar. After that, black hole. Ethan sat up, the movement causing the mattress to shift. Lily stirred. Her eyelashes fluttered, and then she opened her eyes. For a second, there was only sleepy confusion in her gaze. Then recognition hit. Her eyes went wide. She scrambled backward, clutching the collar of the white shirt, her back hitting the headboard with a thump. Ethan, she whispered, her voice raspy. Mr. Caldwell? Lily, Ethan held up his hands, palms out. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Lily looked around the room frantically. The minimalist gray walls, the abstract art, the panoramic view of the Chicago skyline. She looked down at the shirt she was wearing. Oh my God, she breathed. Did we? I'm wearing pants, Ethan said quickly, needing to establish that fact immediately. I'm still fully dressed. You're wearing my shirt, but... He looked toward the door. Her navy blue evening gown was draped carefully over a velvet armchair. Her heels were placed neatly by the door. It wasn't the scene of a wild, passionate frenzy. It looked domestic. Quiet. I don't remember anything after the speeches, Lily said, her hands trembling as she pushed her hair back. I remember you looked tired. I brought you water. Then, nothing. Ethan reached for his phone on the nightstand. The screen lit up, and his stomach dropped. 42 unread messages. 18 missed calls. This isn't good, Ethan muttered. He unlocked the phone. The first message was from his nanny, Mrs. Higgins. Sophie is asleep. I stayed late. She asked for you. Please let me know you're safe. Guilt, heavy and familiar, crushed his chest. He was supposed to be home by 10. He had promised Sophie he'd tuck her in. He was a single father. He didn't get the luxury of disappearing. The next string of messages made his blood run cold. They were from Mrs. Gable, the head of Human Resources. Mr. Caldwell, we need to speak immediately. Please answer your phone. There is a situation developing regarding the gala. Lily, Ethan said, his voice dropping an octave. Check your phone. Lily grabbed her clutch from the nightstand, fishing out her device. As she read her screen, the color drained from her face. Mrs. Gable texted me too, she whispered. She says there's been a formal complaint. A complaint. Anonymous. Lily read, her voice shaking. Alleging an inappropriate relationship between the CEO and his subordinate. They claimed to have video evidence. Ethan stood up, pacing to the window. He looked out at the city he had conquered. He had grown up in a trailer park 40 miles from here, the son of a mechanic and a waitress. He had clawed his way up, scholarship by scholarship, late night by late night, fighting for every inch of respect in a world that viewed him as new money trash. He had built Caldwell Industries from a laptop in a basement to a billion-dollar empire. He was known for his ironclad integrity. He didn't date employees. He didn't party. He worked, and he took care of his 6-year-old daughter. They're coming for me, Ethan said, his eyes narrowing. And they're using you to do it. The drive to the office was excruciating. Lily had changed back into her evening gown, which looked ridiculous at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday, and Ethan had dropped her off a block away to avoid being seen together, though he knew the damage was likely already done. When Ethan walked onto the executive floor, the silence was deafening. Usually, the hum of productivity filled the air. Today, eyes darted away as he passed. Heads bowed. Whispers ceased. He walked into his office. Derek Vance was already there, sitting on Ethan's leather sofa, sipping an espresso with the casual arrogance of a man who owned the place. Derek was everything Ethan wasn't. Born into wealth, Ivy League educated, polished to a shine, and utterly hollow. He had been eyeing the CEO chair since the day the board forced Ethan to hire him as so to add pedigree to the company. "Rough night, boss," Derek asked, a smirk playing on his lips. Ethan ignored him, dropping his briefcase on the desk. "Get out of my office, Derek." "Just here to help," Derek said, standing up and smoothing his suit. "The video is circulating on the internal server. IT is trying to scrub it, but you know how these things go. Once it's out, it's out." "What video?" Derek pulled out his tablet and slid it across the mahogany desk. Ethan looked down. The footage was grainy, taken from a cell phone in a dimly lit corner of the ballroom. It showed Ethan and Lily on the dance floor. It was late. The crowd had thinned. In the video, Ethan wasn't maintaining his usual professional distance. His forehead was resting against hers. His hand was on the small of her back. They weren't dancing so much as swaying, holding on to each other like they were the only two people in the world. They were laughing, a genuine, unguarded laughter that Ethan hadn't felt in years. Then the video cut to them leaving the hotel. Lily was stumbling slightly, and Ethan had his arm around her waist, supporting her. He opened the car door for her, then got in after her. "It looks bad, Ethan," Derek said, his voice dripping with faux sympathy. CEO takes his drunk assistant home at 2 a.m. Doesn't answer his phone until the next morning. And let's be honest, people have been whispering about how close you two are for months. "She helps me with my daughter," Ethan snapped. "She's a friend." "In the corporate world, friends don't spend the night in the penthouse," Derek countered. "The board is meeting at noon. They're panicked. The stock is already wobbling. They're going to want blood." Derek walked to the door, pausing with his hand on the handle. "If I were you, I'd cut her loose. Fire her. Claim she was intoxicated and you were just ensuring her safety, but she misconstrued the situation. Save yourself." "I'm not throwing her under the bus," Ethan said, his voice low and dangerous. Derek shrugged. "Then you might just go down with her. You know how the board feels about uptown image. You were always a bit too rough around the edges for them. This just proves them right." When the door clicked shut, Ethan sank into his chair. He pulled out his wallet and opened it. Inside was a picture of Sophie, grinning with a missing front tooth, and next to her, in the edge of the frame, was Lily's hand, holding an ice cream cone. Lily wasn't just an assistant. When Sophie's mom, a woman who loved the idea of a rich husband but hated the reality of a struggling entrepreneur, walked out 4 years ago, Ethan had been drowning. He was trying to run a Fortune 500 company while learning how to braid hair and bake cupcakes. Lily had saved him, not by doing his work, but by understanding his life. She picked Sophie up when meetings ran late. She knew Sophie's allergies. She knew Ethan needed black coffee before 8 a.m. and silence after 8 p.m. She was the only woman who didn't look at him and see a wallet. She saw a tired dad trying his best. And now, because of a moment of weakness he couldn't even remember, he had destroyed her reputation. Lily was sitting in a small interrogation room in HR, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She felt small. She felt like the scholarship kid she had been in college, surrounded by people who had bought their way in. Mrs. Gable looked sympathetic but firm. "Lily, we have zero-tolerance policies for a reason. The power dynamic here is undeniable. If Mr. Caldwell pressured you—" "He didn't," Lily said, her voice shaking but clear. "He has never been anything but respectful. He's the most decent man I know." The video suggests an intimacy that goes beyond professional respect. "I don't remember the video," Lily admitted. "But I know him. We need to know what happened in the penthouse, Lily." "Nothing happened. We fell asleep." Mrs. Gable sighed, closing her folder. "The board views perception as reality. And right now, the perception is that the CEO is sleeping with his assistant. We have a moral clause in our contracts. Someone has to pay for this lapse in judgment." Lily walked out of the office in a daze. She went to her desk to pack her things, assuming the worst. As she reached for her phone to call her sister, she saw a notification she had missed earlier. It was a voice memo, recorded at 1:45 a.m. Her heart hammered against her ribs. She pressed play and held the phone to her ear. Wind noise. The sound of traffic far below. A rustling of fabric. Then, her own voice, slurred and soft. I don't know why I'm recording this. Maybe because if I don't say it now, I never will. We're on the balcony. He's inside getting aspirin. God, the view is beautiful. A pause. A deep, shaky breath. He looked so sad tonight. All those people clapping for him, and he just looked lonely. I just want to hug him. Not the CEO. Him. The guy who worries about Sophie's math grades. The guy who wears those old t-shirts on weekends. Then a door sliding open in the recording. Ethan's voice, deeper than usual, rough with exhaustion. Got the water. Ethan, Lily's voice on the recording said. Why are we pretending? Pretending what? That we don't fit. That you're up there and I'm down here. I see you, Ethan. I really see you. Silence on the tape. Then the sound of Ethan moving closer. Lily, I can't. If I cross this line, I can't offer you a normal life. My life is a mess. I'm a single dad with a target on my back. I don't want a normal life, Lily whispered. I just want to be where you are. The sound of movement. A sharp intake of breath. And then a kiss. It wasn't the sound of a drunken hookup. It was slow. Quiet. Desperate. You're freezing, Ethan said after a moment. Come inside. Let's just talk. No more wine. Just talk. The recording ended. Lily sat at her desk, tears streaming down her face. They hadn't slept together. They had confessed. They had broken down the walls they had spent 3 years building. They had fallen asleep talking because they were finally, for the first time, not alone. The boardroom was cold, air-conditioned to a frigid temperature that matched the expressions of the 12 members sitting around the oval table. Ethan sat at the head, his jaw set. Derek sat to his right, checking his watch. The optics are catastrophic, the chairman, a man named Sterling, said. The stock is down 4%. The gossip columns are running the Playboy CEO angle. It undermines the integrity of the merger. It was a misunderstanding, Ethan said firmly. Nothing inappropriate occurred. Lily Mischin was unwell. I ensured her safety. That is all. The video says otherwise, Derek interjected smoothly. And frankly, Ethan, it speaks to a lack of judgment. We can't have a CEO who treats the company payroll like a dating app. I built this company. Ethan slammed his hand on the table. While you were playing golf, I was in the trenches. My integrity is not up for debate. It is when it costs us money, Sterling said. We have a solution. Miss Chen is a liability. She needs to go. Immediately. With cause. Violation of the fraternization policy. No, Ethan said. She stays. If anyone goes, it's me. The room went silent. Derek's eyes lit up. Don't be dramatic, Ethan, Sterling scoffed. You're the CEO. You're essential. She's an assistant. She is replaceable. She is not replaceable. Ethan roared, standing up. She is the hardest working person in this building. She knows more about this business than half of you combined. I will not let you ruin her career to save face for me. The door to the boardroom opened. Lily stood there. She had changed into a simple gray suit. She looked pale, but her chin was high. Ms. Chen, this is a closed session, Derek barked. I'm resigning, Lily said, her voice clear. Ethan turned to her, his eyes pleading. Lily, don't. She walked to the table and placed a letter on the mahogany surface. My resignation is effective immediately. I take full responsibility for the events of last night. Mr. Caldwell acted with nothing but propriety. I was the one who crossed boundaries. It was one-sided. She looked at Ethan, her eyes filled with a sad, loving finality. He rejected my advances. He is innocent. Lily stopped. Ethan stepped toward her. It's the truth, she lied, staring him down. I'm leaving. Please accept this so the company can move forward. Sterling picked up the letter, looking relieved. Well, that simplifies things. We accept, Ms. Chen. You'll receive a standard severance if you sign an NDA. I don't want your money, Lily said. She looked at Ethan one last time. Take care of Sophie, Ethan. She turned and walked out. Ethan moved to follow her, but Derek grabbed his arm. Let her go, Ethan. It's done. You survived. Don't throw it away. Ethan looked at the closed door, then at the sharks around the table. He felt a part of his soul wither. He sat down, defeated. The next 3 months were a blur of gray. Without Lily, the office felt like a tomb. Ethan's new assistant was efficient, cold, and terrified of him. She didn't remind him to eat. She didn't ask about Sophie's dance recital. Sophie took it the hardest. Where's Lily? She asked every night for 2 weeks. She got a new job, sweetie. Ethan would say, his heart breaking. Did I do something bad? Sophie asked one night, clutching her teddy bear. Did she leave because I spilled juice in her car? No, baby, no. Ethan hugged her tight, tears stinging his eyes. You're perfect. Daddy made a mistake. At work, Derek Vance was on a power trip. With Ethan emotionally checked out, Derek began pushing for a new initiative, a massive, high-risk investment in a foreign mining tech firm. Ethan reviewed the files. It smelled wrong. The numbers were too perfect. The projections were inflated. It's a trap, Ethan told the board. The debt load is too high. You're being risk-averse, Ethan, Derek argued. You've lost your edge since the incident. We need growth. I say we do it. The board, smelling money and sensing Ethan's weakness, sided with Derek. They approved the deal. Ethan went home that night and looked at his empty penthouse. He looked at his bank account, millions of dollars that couldn't buy him a single good night's sleep. He looked at Sophie, who was drawing a picture of her, Ethan, and a woman with black hair who was clearly Lily. What am I doing? He thought. I'm fighting for a chair on the Titanic. I'm fighting for people who despise me. He went to his closet and pulled out an old shoebox. Inside was his first business plan, written on a napkin. And underneath it, a note Lily had written him 2 years ago on his birthday. To the best dad and the best boss. You carry the world on your shoulders, Ethan. Don't forget to put it down sometimes. Ethan realized then that he didn't want to be the CEO of Caldwell Industries anymore. Not if it meant becoming a man like Derek Vance. 2 weeks later, the disaster Ethan predicted struck. The mining tech firm was a fraud. It was a shell company. The news broke on a Monday morning. Caldwell Industries stock plummeted 35% in an hour. The SEC announced an investigation. The board was in a panic. Sterling was calling Ethan every 5 minutes. Ethan sat in his office calm. He had been waiting for this. He picked up his phone and dialed a number he had tracked down through a private investigator. Hello. A voice answered. It was soft, hesitant. Lily. Silence on the line. Then a ragged breath. Ethan, where are you? I'm in Seattle. I'm staying with my cousin. Are you okay? I'm working at a coffee shop, she laughed, brittle sound. It's peaceful. No board meetings. Lily, I found something, Ethan said. I went through the IT logs myself. Anonymous email that sent the video? It was sent from a burner account, but the IP address traces back to a router in the Hamptons. So, specifically, Derek Vance's vacation home. He set us up, Lily said, her voice hardening. He hired the guy to film us. He leaked it. He wanted me distracted so he could push his fraudulent deal through. What are you going to do? I'm going to burn him to the ground, Ethan said. And then, I'm coming to get you. The emergency board meeting was chaos. Everyone was shouting. Derek was sweating, trying to spin the narrative, blaming the analysts, blaming the market. Ethan walked in. He wasn't wearing his usual 3-piece suit. He was wearing jeans and a black blazer. He looked relaxed. Dangerous. This is your fault, Caldwell. Sterling shouted. You were asleep at the wheel. Actually, Ethan said, projecting a file onto the smart screen. I warned you. It's in the minutes. I voted no. Derek voted yes. And you all followed him. That doesn't matter now. We're losing millions. I can fix it, Ethan said calmly. I have a contingency plan. I have a buyer for the bad assets and a strategy to pivot our tech stack to cover the losses. I can save the company. Do it, Sterling begged. Do whatever it takes. I have conditions, Ethan said. Name them. 1. Ethan pointed at Derek. He is fired. 4 cause. Corporate sabotage. Here is the proof that he leaked the video of me and Ms. Chen to manipulate stock prices and board sentiment. Ethan slapped a folder of IP logs and emails onto the table. Derek went white. 2. Ethan continued. I want a public apology issued to Lily Chen, clearing her name of any wrongdoing. Done, Sterling said, glaring at Derek. And 3. Ethan smiled. I resign as CEO. The room gasped. What? You just said you'd fix it. I will fix it. As chairman of the board, I'll come in once a week. I'll handle the strategy. But I am done with the day-to-day. I'm done with the 80-hour weeks. I'm done missing my daughter's life. Who will run the company? Hire someone, Ethan shrugged. Just make sure they have a soul. It helps. He walked over to Derek, who was trembling. Ethan leaned down. You thought because I came from nothing, I didn't know how to fight dirty? I grew up in a trailer park, Derek. I learned to fight before you learned to tie your polo shoes. Ethan turned and walked out of the building. The air outside smelled like freedom. It was raining in Seattle, a soft, misty drizzle that coated everything in silver. Lily was wiping down the counter at the sleepy cafe near Pike Place Market. She looked tired. Her spark was dim. The bell above the door chimed. Be right with you, she called out, not looking up. I'll have a black coffee, a deep voice said, and a hot chocolate with extra marshmallows for the little lady. Lily froze. She looked up slowly. Ethan stood there. He looked different. His hair was a little longer, messy from the rain. He wasn't wearing a tie. He was holding Sophie's hand. Ethan. Lily dropped the rag. Lily. Sophie screamed, letting go of Ethan's hand and sprinting around a counter. Lily dropped her knees just in time to catch the 6-year-old, burying her face in Sophie's strawberry-scented hair. Tears sprang to her eyes instantly. Oh my God. Sophie. Look at you. You've grown. I missed you, Sophie sobbed. Daddy missed you too. He burns the toast. Lily looked up. Ethan was leaning against the counter, watching them with a look of such raw tenderness it made her heart ache. He walked around the counter and knelt down, so they were all at the same level. You came all this way for coffee? Lily asked, wiping her eyes. I came for my assistant, Ethan said softly, but she quit. So now I'm looking for my partner. Ethan, I can't go back to Chicago. I can't handle the whispers. We're not going back, Ethan said. Well, not really. I stepped down. I'm chairman now. I work remote mostly. I was thinking, Seattle has a good tech scene. And good schools. Lily stared at him. You gave up being CEO. You worked your whole life for that. I worked my whole life to be safe, Ethan corrected. To make sure Sophie never had to worry about rent. I did that. But I realized I was building a castle and living in it alone. He reached out and took her hand. His fingers were warm, rough, solid. I remember the balcony, Lily, he whispered. I started remembering a few weeks ago. I remember you telling me you saw me. I remember kissing you. It was the only real thing that happened to me in 10 years. I love you, Ethan, Lily said, the truth tumbling out. I didn't want to ruin your life. You didn't ruin it. Ethan smiled, leaning in to kiss her forehead, then her lips, a kiss full of promise, rain, and coffee. You saved it. Sophie giggled, squishing between them. Does this mean Lily is coming home? Ethan looked at Lily. I don't know, sophomore. It depends. Is there room in her life for a retired CEO and a kid with a sugar addiction? Lily laughed, the sound bright and clear. I think I can make room. Ethan stood up, pulling Lily and Sophie with him. He looked out the window at the gray Seattle sky, but for the first time in his life, everything looked bright. He wasn't the poor kid from the wrong side of the tracks anymore. He wasn't the lonely CEO in the ivory tower. He was just a dad, and he was home.